Grace Millane thought her 22nd birthday date was the start of a new adventure. The final CCTV footage shows her smiling, stepping into a hotel elevator with a man she'd just met. She was never seen alive again. A still of Jesse Kempson looking calm/drinking beer, intercut with dark shots of the Whitacre Ranges forest. Less than 24 hours later, this man was caught laughing on a new date, while a red suitcase sat hidden in his car. Inside was a secret that would eventually change international law. But what the police found on his phone proved that this was no accident. The only question is, how far can a lie truly go? Hello everyone, and welcome to The Bone Library. The case we're diving into today isn't just about a Tinder date gone wrong. It's about the chilling mask of a calm, calculated predator. Today, we're dissecting the disappearance of Grace Millane, the psychological manipulation behind Jesse Kempson's lies, and the digital smoking gun that shattered his rough sex defense in court. Let's get into it. Grace Millane was far from your average tourist. She was a bright, talented advertising graduate from the University of Lincoln, celebrating her hard-earned degree with a grand adventure, a solo trip around the globe. For Grace, this was about more than just sightseeing. It was about independence. After spending weeks exploring the rugged landscapes of Peru, she landed in New Zealand in mid-November 2018 as part of her year-long journey. Her plan was simple: soak in the beauty of Auckland before heading over to Australia. Staying at a downtown hostel, she was constantly in touch with her family back in the UK, sharing photos of her smiles and the stunning views. But there's something you need to understand about Grace. She was a person who truly believed in the goodness of others. It was that very optimism that led her to open Tinder on the night before her 22nd birthday. She wasn't looking for trouble. She was just looking for someone to share a drink with in a city where she was a stranger. On the other side of that screen was Jesse Kempson, a 26-year-old New Zealander whose profile looked perfectly harmless. But if we peel back the layers, we find a man who was a pathological liar. Jesse had a long documented history of manipulating everyone in his orbit. He told friends he was a high-flying manager or that he had connections to famous people. The reality? He was an unemployed man living in a tiny, cramped room at the City Life Hotel. Jesse also had a dark reputation among the women who actually knew him. Former dates described him as intense, controlling, and prone to verbal outbursts. But on the night he met Grace, he was playing his best role yet. He ordered drinks, acted the part of a gentleman, and projected a charismatic persona that made Grace feel safe. My analysis? Jesse was a master at detecting empathy in others, and he used Grace's kindness as a doorway to get close to her. Around 9:40 p.m., camera captured a haunting moment. Grace and Jesse walking into the elevator at the City Life Hotel. Grace is seen laughing, completely unaware that this would be the last time the world would see her alive. What happened behind those closed doors is known only to Jesse, but the forensic evidence and his digital footprint speak much louder than his confession ever could. Let's talk about this number: 1 hour and 16 minutes. That is how long Jesse spent on Google after Grace had died. While her body was still right there in the room, Jesse didn't reach for his phone to call an ambulance. His later defense that this was a sex act gone wrong crumbles the moment you look at his search history. He was Googling hottest fire and Whitacre Ranges. He even looked up information about vultures in New Zealand. But here's the most disturbing part. In the middle of planning how to dispose of her body, he took a break to watch pornography and went back on Tinder to scout for his next date. This isn't the behavior of someone in shock or trauma. This is the behavior of someone performing post-execution cleanup with a level of calm that is frankly terrifying. He didn't see Grace as a human being who had just lost her life. He saw her as a problem that needed to be erased. Let's step back for a moment to December 2nd, 2018. This was supposed to be Grace's 22nd birthday. Back in the UK, Her family was waiting by their phones, ready to call and shower her with birthday wishes. Grace was incredibly close to her parents. She was the type of person who checked in constantly. But that day, her phone was dead. Every WhatsApp message stayed at a single gray tick. The loving birthday wishes from her father, David Millane, went unread. At first, the family tried to stay calm. Maybe she was in a remote area with no signal, or maybe her battery had just died. But as 24 hours turned into 48 and the silence continued, a father's instinct took over. David knew something was horribly wrong. He didn't wait. He reported his daughter missing to the New Zealand police and booked the first flight to Auckland. Just imagine the weight of that flight. 13 hours in the air, heading toward a nightmare you're not even sure is real yet. When Auckland police began their search, the first place they went was Grace's hostel. What they found there sent a chill through the investigation. All of Grace's belongings were still there, untouched. Her passport, her clothes, her toiletries, everything was neatly packed. In the world of missing persons, this is the ultimate red flag. If a traveler is going on a hike or moving to a different city, they take their essentials. Grace had walked out of that hostel with nothing but the clothes on her back. The police immediately pivoted to her digital footprint and credit card transactions. That's when the name Jessie Kempson first appeared. Grace was last seen on CCTV bar hopping through central Auckland with a mystery man. On camera, they looked like any other couple. Grace appeared comfortable, even happy. But as investigators tracked the man in those frames, they realized they weren't looking at just a casual date. They were looking at the last person to ever see Grace Millane alive. What makes this part of the case so fascinating to analyze is how Jesse responded to the police. He didn't run. In fact, when they contacted him, he was incredibly calm. Honestly, too calm. He agreed to come to the station to give a statement as a witness. Sitting across from detectives, Jesse spun a flawless web of lies. He claimed that after they had drinks, they parted ways on friendly terms on a street corner. He even added a fake detail, saying Grace had mentioned meeting up with another friend. This is a classic psychological move. Jesse was trying to build a narrative that Grace was unpredictable or hard to track. He was trying to lead the police into a dead end. But Jesse made the one fatal mistake every overconfident predator makes. He forgot that in a modern city like Auckland, there are eyes that never sleep. His own hotel's CCTV was about to tell a story that contradicted every single word he just said. When detectives first called Jesse Kempson in, he walked in with supreme confidence. He sat in that interrogation room, perfectly calm, spinning a neat alibi. We parted ways on the street. She went to meet a friend. He thought he had won. But then, detectives did something he didn't expect. They played the City Life Hotel's CCTV footage right in front of him. You can almost feel the atmosphere shift. On screen, it's clear. Jesse and Grace enter the elevator together, but Grace is never seen leaving. Instead, the camera catches Jesse leaving alone multiple times, carrying a large red suitcase and renting a carpet cleaner. In that moment, his mask slipped. He couldn't lie about the street corner anymore. But instead of confessing, he made a chilling psychological maneuver. He flipped the script instantly. He said, "Okay, she died in my room, but it was a sex act gone wrong." My analysis? This is the hallmark of a manipulative predator. When one lie breaks, they immediately manufacture a new one that paints them as a victim of circumstance. Using GPS data from Jesse's rental car, police tracked his movements to the Waitakere Ranges forest. On December 9th, the search ended in tragedy. They found the red suitcase buried in a shallow grave. Inside was Grace. It was a moment that broke the heart of an entire nation, and especially her father, who was still holding on to a sliver of hope. But the most vocal evidence was on Jesse's phone. Police discovered that while Grace's body was still in his room, Jesse spent 76 minutes Googling. Hottest fire, Waitakere Ranges, and large bags. He even took photos of her body. In criminology, this is known as trophy taking. He saw Grace's death as an achievement. He wasn't in shock. He was savoring the moment of absolute power. He felt he had ultimate control over a human life. So, what was the real motive? Why would a man do this to someone he just met? If we dissect his background, Jesse was a failure in the real world. He was unemployed, lived a life built on lies, and felt invisible to society. The core motive was power and control. In that hotel room, with Grace, a stranger who had no one in the city, Jesse felt a sense of power he had never possessed. The autopsy showed Grace was strangled for 5 to 10 minutes. That is not an accident. That is the time required to deliberately ensure someone's life is extinguished. My analysis is that Jesse didn't kill out of rage. He killed to feed his fragile ego, needing to prove he could dominate another human being completely. Jesse Kempson's trial in 2019 was one of the most watched legal battles in recent history. Despite hiding behind the rough sex gone wrong defense, it took the jury only 5 hours to find him guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 17 years before he is even eligible for parole. But justice came with a heavy price. During the legal proceedings, Grace's father, David Millane, passed away from cancer. Many believe the profound grief of losing his daughter accelerated his decline. The Millane family lost 2 beautiful souls because of the selfish actions of one man. However, Grace's death was not in vain. Her case sparked a global campaign that eventually led to the banning of the rough sex defense in the UK and New Zealand. Grace Millane changed international law forever. This case is a stark reminder for all of us, especially young women who love to travel and use dating apps. We shouldn't let fear stop us from exploring the world, but we must move with caution. Always share your live location with someone you trust. Meet in very crowded public spaces, and never hesitate to leave if your instinct feels a flicker of unease. Monsters don't always look scary. Sometimes they hide behind a perfect Tinder profile. Grace Millane was an artist, a daughter, and an adventurer whose spirit was far too bright for this world. Let's remember her not for how she died, but for her courage to see the world. Rest in peace, Grace. Justice has been served. Thank you for watching The Bone Library. If you think this story needs to be heard, please share this video. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next case.